Thank you. Okay, we are meeting in special session, the Fossil Ridge Metropolitan Districts, numbers 1 through 3. It's Monday, September 28th, and we are starting the meeting at 6:31 p.m. First item of business is to call the meeting to order. We are going to go through a roll call, and when I ask you if you're present at the meeting, if you can also let me know, board members, if you've got any disclosures of potential conflicts of interest that you wish to disclose. Okay. District 1, Tom Waterman.
Present.
Any conflicts?
No conflicts.
Thank you. Craig Brown.
District 1, Vice President present, no conflicts.
Mike McCleary. Is Mike
He just
on?
joined, Sue. Let me
Okay.
make sure he's unmuted.
Okay, Dave McGraw.
Present and no conflict.
Right. Mike McCleary.
Present, no conflicts.
Thank you. And Terry Larson. He is absent.
I would move, Sue, that we approve his absence. Excuse it.
Excuse it, okay.
Yes, please.
Do I have a second on that?
Craig Brown,
Tom
second.
Waterman, second.
Okay. Any opposed? Hearing none, carries unanimously. District number 2, Dave McGraw.
Present and no conflict.
Okay. Again, we've got Terry Larson absent. Alan Plumhoff,
Present, no conflicts.
thank you. Ted Michelson
Present, no conflicts.
and Tom Waterman.
Present, no conflicts.
Okay, and do we have a motion to excuse Terry?
So moved.
Ed Michelson.
Okay,
Second, David Roth.
Thanks. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. District 3, Craig Brown.
Join the meeting.
Craig Brown, present, no conflicts.
Join the meeting.
Aaron Hochstein. Aaron, you're muted.
I'm unmuting him right now. Sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. David Wilson.
Present, no conflicts.
Daniel Dominic.
Present, no conflicts.
Mike McCleary.
Present, no conflicts.
And Aaron Hochstein.
Yeah, this is Aaron, present, no conflicts, and I couldn't change my name there, so I guess I'm Reed today.
Okay.
Usually I can change.
Thank you. I do want to report that this meeting was posted 72 hours before today's meeting. However, we are required by statute to post no later than 24 hours ahead of the meeting. So it has been properly posted, and we can move forward to conduct the meeting. Next item of business, approval or amendment to the agenda. Are there any changes from the board members?
Yes, Sue, I would like to make an addition. We want to add a resolution to engage a bond attorney from the firm of Dinsmore and Stoll.
Dinsmore and Stoll, okay. Okay, do I have a motion agenda to approve this topic?
Craig Brown, so moved.
Second, David Roth.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the agenda has been amended to include consideration of a resolution to engage bond attorney. Okay, we're down to public comment. I do want to mention that there is a limit of 3 minutes per person. The chat room after public comment will be disabled. And during this session, the board will receive questions, but will not respond tonight. Answers will be given at the next meeting of the board. Okay, do we have anyone that would like to address the board?
We do. We have John, and I'm unmuting him now. I believe it's John Henderson.
Good evening, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, good evening. First of all, I wanted to make a formal record of the documents that I shared with Sue earlier this morning. I wanted to make those a formal part of the record of this meeting. And you'll recognize them as papers that I've published in the last several weeks regarding the issue of the bonds. The second thing I'd like to say is that with all due respect to Brookfield, my vote is just as important as the vote of those 8 employees in 2006. And if given the opportunity, I would vote to repeal the permission they gave to the board to enter into debt and finance that debt up to $4.9 billion as set forth in the ballot. And instead, I would return the power to give the board permission to go into any further debt back to the residents so that we would have a normal Tabor election anytime the board thought it was appropriate to consider going into debt. And I would also vote no to write a check to Brookfield at this time for $10 million and go into debt to pay that check through the issuance of bonds until 2 things happen. The first, that we have an independent forensic financial audit to determine whether or not we owe them any money, particularly in light of the research study that we published showing that we already paid for the infrastructure, we paid for the lots. The second condition would be that the residents would vote on whether or not to go into that debt after hearing Brookfield's basis or reasons that we should pay them any more money. So that would be my vote. And again, I think my vote is just as valid and just as persuasive as a vote of the 8 employees of Brookfield in 2006. And finally, I would encourage anybody who's listening or participating to let the board know how you feel, one way or the other. Do you support the continued refusal to return the right to vote on the bond debt back to the residents, one way or the other? And do you agree, one way or the other, to pay Brookfield another $10 million before we know that we really owe it? I guess
And John, excuse my interruption, your 3 minutes is up.
Oh, thank you very much and appreciate your patience.
And then, so it looks like the next individual would be Gary. And I'm unmuting him now.
Thank you. Gary, are you here?
Can everyone hear me?
There you
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. Sorry about that. Hi, as a resident of Solterra for some 10 years, I'm disappointed in the actions of our current resident board that recommends giving Brookfield another 10 million. And what it suggests the board might pursue in 31 million additional. Brookfield is claiming they're owed 41 million. The board appears to dismiss the objective of the 2017 resident petition, gaining control of our community with resident board members and then holding Brookfield accountable in claims of money owed. From my view, it appears the current board shows a higher commitment to Brookfield than our community. No independent forensic audits were pursued to verify Brookfield claims at a cost to the community of $150,000 to $200,000. Instead, the board is pursuing $10 million of principal with a P&I of $16 million. If the board recommends the additional $31 million, the full P&I is over $66 million. Seems the small price of $175 a home for an independent audit is a bargain to find the truth. And sorry, I'm not a resident who believes an audit has already been completed internally. I've attended the Fossil Ridge financial workshops, and I know the guy Ford claims. The board totally dismisses the $118 million paid in lot fees already to Brookfield for current active homes and potentially some $141 million. Residents have already paid for all their claimed infrastructure costs, so why do we owe more? While John Bingling might be truthful in claiming property taxes will not go up by refinancing current bonds and adding $10 million additional debt, I believe he is misleading residents by not sharing, the board's plan to pursue an additional 31 million Brookfield claim in the zone. And please do not tell me the board has not decided yet, for they have not been transparent with the community on the 10 million through open debate with their justification. We've heard nothing other than a bunch of different open email blasts. We gave Brookfield 10 million now. We have no way to stop the other 31 million. So we're on the hook of a 50+ mill levy forever. The board last year put emphasis on future operational costs, conducting a reserve fund study. How sad it will be that residents are not able to minimize future increases from savings on current bond refinancing. The 500,000 savings each year would go a long way keeping operational costs funded. Instead, the decision was made to give Brookfield 10 million more. And do not forget the reserve study recommended a reserve fund of 1.7 million. And as the community, we're far behind that amount. So what does it suggest in operational fees for 2021 and beyond? And also the research study never talked about sewer pipes. So I'm a resident that believes I should have the right to vote in the debt that Brookfield took away in 2006. And it appears the current board has no plans to give that right back. Yes, I've heard their argument on claims of service plan already authorizing the debt, but how convenient to have a one-party agreement for Brookfield and obligate residents without a voice. What Solterra is going through is special district abuse. It's obvious. While current Colorado statutes might have allowed Brookfield to get by with their single-party agreements, convenient interest rates of 6% on developer advances, clear residents don't have a major disadvantage. Current law is well behind.
Gary, excuse my interruption. Your 3 minutes is up.
Interesting. I get more courtesy out of Jefferson County commissioners. Interesting.
Thank you, Gary.
The next individual would be Jim. I believe it's Jim. Is it Cantrell? Jim, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Is there no chat tonight?
The chat should be active.
And I guess my question is, I mean, we give comments tonight, but we don't hear any responses till the next meeting? That's ridiculous. That makes the whole point of this meeting irrelevant for the residents. I mean, come on, boards. I've already emailed questions that I had to the board members. I did hear back from Dave, and I appreciate that very much, but no response from any of my board members in District 3. So thanks a lot. Appreciate it. That's all I have to say.
Sue. The next person is J.D. LeBou.
Actually, if you don't mind, Chris was before me. Can you let Chris go first, please?
Sure. 1 second.
I'll talk after him. Thank you.
Hello, this is Chris Neugebauer. I've been a resident of Solterra for 7 years, built my house here. I followed the board and all the financial machinations and everything that the board has done for us. I followed it through the time when Brookfield was on the board. Now we have a resident elected board. We've had that for a couple of years. And I just want to thank them for the work they've done. They haven't done everything perfect, but I think they've tried to do the best that they can for our residents. Their residents paying the same taxes we are. They've gotten legal and financial advice to make the best decisions that they can. And they're operating under statutory law that's been passed by our state legislature. And I'm just one resident too, and my vote's as important as anybody else's, as someone else mentioned earlier. The decision for the vote is an emotional one, and I think it's easy one to bring up, but that decision has already been made. Unfortunately, I don't necessarily agree with special district law, but special district law says that a developer board can make those decisions, and a law passed in 2016 reaffirmed that from the state legislature. So this other, the group that says we can give that vote back is you're pushing on a string, and you're pushing against law. And we've audited, the board has done their best to audit Brookfield's expenditures, and they believe that an additional $10 million is merited. And if we miss this beautiful window that we have, with interest rates as low as they are, to not only refinance debt, but to issue this additional $10 million, that would be, our board not being prudent. And I think they are by pursuing that. And they have not acquiesced. Brookfield wants to be paid the entire $70 million, and our board has said no. We believe that $10 million is appropriate for right now. And I believe our board has a commitment to the residents, and they're operating under the agreements and they're doing the best they can. And, we need to push for a change in special district law, not make Solterra the test case to get into endless lawsuits, millions and millions of dollars, and now we're going to miss this window to refinance our debt. That would be completely prudent and real financial malfeasance. So I support the board in issuing this, refinancing the debt as it currently stands, issuing an additional $10 million, and then being prudent and being, as they have been, looking under every stone to ensure that what Brookfield has done has been done, and what they're saying they've spent has actually been spent. And I, for one, as a resident who's seen them operate for years now, I believe that they're doing that. And this other group that wants to throw a wrench into all this, they're throwing a stick of dynamite into a situation, and they really have no plan. There is no plan on this recall and what they want to do going forward, except recklessness. And they have the right to say what they're saying, but right now I think they're basically trying to divide the neighborhood, and really take us down a path that no other special district has traveled. And I don't want to be that first special district to try to do that. That's really all I have. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Chris. Who's next, Marcos?
Do you want me to go, Marcos, or do you want to wait for me to call them? It's up to you.
Sue,
Go
this
ahead.
is Craig. I believe that J.D. LeBou is next, and Marcus, for whatever reason, is on mute. So we'll see if I can correct that. But JD,
Cool. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for your time, everybody. I'll just basically say a couple comments about Chris's comments. If Rosa Parks didn't refuse to sit in the back of the bus, I don't believe we'd have a lot of movement and a lot of the discrimination. And Tom Waterman, I really like your smirking. That really shows a lot about a board member. It really does. Yeah. That's very typical of the way I think people think of this board. That you just do what you want to do, you shove your thumb up at them, and you do whatever you want without having transparency. And that's what we're disappointed in. And honestly, new people that come into this area are going to think the same thing. At some point in time, the 1/3 that is running this community is not going to be the 1/3 that's going to continue to run this community. And we are eventually going to take over by the community, run by the community. So you keep smirking, mister. You just keep smirking. Because it's your attitude and the attitude that's approaching this community that is causing this type of discrepancy and this type of futile garbage. Just garbage.
JD, this is Craig Brown.
I thought you weren't commenting. I'm not done yet, Craig, so please let me finish my comments.
No, your time is still there, JD. But this is not about a personal attack on anybody. Either way. Please.
Well, then you tell your board member not to smirk and give personal comments about everything that's been saying, and then I will stop feeling reacted by it. You want to do that, and I'll stop doing what I do. Okay? Fair enough?
You have your time for your comments. Let's move to your comments, sir.
So I guess no, you won't talk to your own board members about that. This is being recorded and will be published on lots of news sites as well as legislative areas so that they can actually see what is going on in Solterra. This is a case study. It will become things that the legislature will change. Unfortunately, we won't be able to make a lot of changes to our community at this point because we've been, as one person put it to me, I think it was really well done, we've been saturated, we've been soaked, and we are continuing to be soaked. So here's my comment, and I apologize for getting emotional, but when I see smirks happening, I have to stand up for people. It's very outlandish and very just disgusting. It disgusts me. Tonight, in only 3 days' notice in a special meeting, it appears our board will again not be transparent, not on what they plan to do, but on why they believe we should do it. Why should we give Brookfield $10 million more of our community's money to pay for the build-out of our infrastructure, which is what special districts are for, when we have research that shows and that we have provided to the board and to the community that we have already overpaid on our cost of our infrastructure? Where is the proof that shows we owe them this debt? Are we just to trust the board when they say, we've done the research and we feel it is prudent, especially in these COVID times, prudent to take money from unsuspecting residents of our community during a pandemic and give it to a multi-billion-dollar corporation? Really? Minimizing and downplaying the inevitable cost to us by saying, we estimate that it will not be a rise in cost to individual homeowners, and if it is, it will be very minimal. You won't even notice it. I'm here to tell you that we all notice it, and we have noticed it for a long time. We should not continue to work like this.
This is Craig Brown. Thank you for your comments.
I'm not done, and I believe I still have my time because you interrupted my time, Craig. So I believe I do have some more time.
And I gave you the extra time, JD.
I have more time, and I'm going to raise my hand again to speak again. So if you're going to let me talk, I'll talk now. Otherwise, I'll raise my hand again to speak. We should not continue to work like this.
Sue,
where a board is open to conversation, collaboration, and advice.
Okay, Marcos, do we have anyone else that would like to address the board?
I have Elaine Jones with her hand up. Elaine, I'm unmuting you now. Elaine, did you see a prompt pop up on your screen to unmute?
There we go. Sorry, I wasn't looking.
Oh, okay.
Hello, everyone. This is Elaine Jones. As many of you know, I work for a builder developer, and I'm very, very tired of John Henderson and J.D. Lube and their followers talking about lot premiums and lots paying for the infrastructure. Anyone in the industry knows that lots prices have nothing to do with infrastructure. So I'm not saying that Metro District shouldn't be changed. I agree with Chris, I do not think they should be changed on the backs of the Solterra residents. If this neighborhood costs probably upwards of $120 million for infrastructure, look at it, it's on the side of Green Mountain. I'm not saying that Brookfield's a good company. I don't care for them personally very well. You can put that on the record. But I do trust this board, after them looking at the financials, to know what is best for the residents of Solterra, and that if they feel like the bond needs to be issued, it needs to be issued, because I can tell all of the residents, and JD, please make sure this is part of your video if you're going to publish this, that if we do not pay Brookfield, we will get ourselves into major lawsuits with a multi-billion-dollar company. Who's going to pay for that? We are residents. We are not a company. We do not have the money in this neighborhood to pay that. We will be assessed money on our taxes and on our assessments that you will not be able to sell your house without people knowing that that assessment is happening. It infuriates me that a few individuals in this neighborhood can cause so much trouble, because that is not the way that it was set up. Unfortunately, we have to follow the Metro District Colorado state law that says what needs to be done. I'm getting upset now because this neighborhood, this house that my husband and I own, is my financial retirement future. And I do not want to see this neighborhood go down the tubes because of the John Hendersons, the J.D. Lubes, the Gary Greasers. I'm sorry, you might be very good people. This is not personal. This is totally business and financial. And I do not want to see this neighborhood go down those tubes. Anyone is welcome to private message me, email me. I will meet with you. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine. Marcos, who do we have next?
It looks like next is it George Van Dyke. I'm unmuting you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi, so thanks everyone. I'm not in a particular camp of either one. I think the personal attacks are really kind of disappointing. But I do have questions about my taxes are definitely higher than other neighborhoods around here. That's concerning. And we all seem to think that Brookfield is kind of doing us, maybe overcharging us and loose. That's the consensus I got, but we generally don't want to kind of poke the bear because it's a big bear and all that. But how are we auditing the expenses, and are there published examples of where Brookfield claimed X dollars and we said nope, that's too much. The appropriate is Y. Is that being done, and is that published? And if so, where is it published? If not, why isn't it published? So there's kind of the auditing. What are the tangible, concrete parts of that, and where would that be published?
George, this is Sue, and I'm happy to provide the documentation that we have that is public information to you. So if Marcos, if we can get his email, that would be great.
So that is kept, that a list of that is kept, and so are we regularly disputing and negotiating down the expense? Is that actually happening? And can you throw out like a ballpark number of what that like a percentage, or I mean, how, like, I know you'll say you'll publish it, but like, can you just give detail on how that works and what those numbers look like?
Again, we're just taking public comment, and answers will be forthcoming at a future meeting of the board.
I thought this was a question and answer.
No, this is just the board receiving comments and questions.
Oh, okay, well, it'd be nice to have that information should be published. I mean, I think that would probably give some confidence. It's not, personal things or whatever, but so many people seem to be saying that Brookfield is kind of burdening us. And the common response is, well, they're a multi-billion-dollar company, they'll sue us, and I can't sell my house and everything like that. But, concrete examples and figures of they claimed X, and we've negotiated them why we're saving you this amount of money, I think would be really, really helpful to see. Thank you.
Thank you. Marcos, who's next?
Sorry, I muted myself. Looks like Andy Martin is next.
Hi all, this is Andy Martin. I am a former Fossil Ridge Metro District number 2 board member and finance committee member. I am in full support of the board in the decision that they're making here. I think they are making very prudent decisions for the financial future of Solterra and for all residents. I can rest assured that they are doing the best that they can sitting in their seats and making the best decisions that they can make for our community sitting in those seats. They are privy to information that we probably aren't as community members. And they're making decisions based on that information as well. I would rest assured sitting in your seats as well as members of our community that these board members are truly looking out for the best interest of all of us here at Solterra. They truly are. Again, I'm in full support of the board, and I will give the rest of my time back.
Thank you, Andy.
All right, it looks like next is Greg Gold.
Yes, and thank you for allowing me to join into this discussion. A little disappointed in what I'm hearing from some people on the fact that we're not sticking to the facts and we're taking some attacks on personal attacks. I think one thing that needs to be acknowledged and important to be acknowledged is the fact that we do have an elected board, a board that I do support, a board that went through an elected process and represents residents. So for those that feel we don't have a say in this, we had our say in it when we have voted for this elected board that's currently there. They are doing a great job. They're elected to do, and we need to support that. So at this point, I'll turn my time back.
Thank you, Greg.
Good job, brother.
All right, so it looks like everyone that has asked to speak has spoken.
Okay, and we have allotted the 3-minute time limit. So Jim and JD, we won't call on you again at this time. If there's no one else raising their hand, Marcos, let's go ahead and disable the chat.
It looks like we just had one right at the end. It's
Okay.
like John White. Then go ahead and unmute him.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I serve on the Finance Committee, and I want to inform you of some wonderful news. My next door neighbor, Carrie Larson, who isn't able to be here tonight, had back surgery today. It was very, very successful. And he is now in recovery in the hospital, and it's really wonderful. I heard from his wife today a couple times, so I just want to report that out to all of you. I also want everyone to know that I have come because of the Finance Committee to work with members of the Finance Committee and members of the board. And I have never, in my many years of working with committees and organizations, found a more professional, substantial, caring, knowledgeable, talented group of individuals. We should be very thankful for the leadership we have. And I just thank you all for all the work you do, because I know the hours and hours and hours you spend. And I hope that some of us let you know how much we really appreciate it. Thanks, guys and gals. I'm done.
Thanks, John. Anyone
So-
else want those?
Yeah, at one point, Chris McCallum had asked for time. I didn't know if he still wanted it. Let me unmute him just to ask real quick.
Hi, this is Chris McCallum, and I'm in support of the board. I have been on small board of directors. I understand the need for executive sessions versus meetings. I am new to Solterra. I've been here a year, so I'm catching up on things. It would be helpful to have a place to easily find what we are allowed to know about the process and the history of things that have been paid for. I've scoured the Solterra Connect website, and that is something that would be helpful to me to learn more. I think that a lot of the I'll just say disagreement and disagreeing words that are on social media, it's because a lot of us don't have the information that we need. So any information you could give us on the process, I think would be helpful. And Sue, if you just want to email me if it's already there, that'd be great. And I'd like to request that people keep this off social media or not include 85 other communities around us. I don't think that's appropriate for us to share our financial work with everyone around us. The 3 people that did not get elected but were on the ballot 2 years ago or 3 years ago, 2016, 17, they are people that are pushing this recall and information process. So you need to take that into consideration, I think, when you listen to their views. Their views are obviously different than the people who were elected. And so we need to find out who the majority is in our community. So thanks again for your work. That's all.
Thank you, Chris. Is that it, Marcos?
That is it at this time, Sue.
Okay. Let's go ahead and disable the chat feature, please. Okay, next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have 2 items: approval of payment of claims for the period ending September 24th. You've got an enclosure on page 4 of your packet. Also approval of the September 11th special meeting minutes, pages 5 through 10. And we can take one motion to approve the consent agenda unless a board member wants to move one of the items further in the agenda.
To Tom Waterman, I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, and do I have a second?
Mike McClure, I'll second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Craig Brown, aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is legal matters.
Right now.
I don't know of any. Any items? No? Okay, let's move on then. Next item, financial matters. A is bond update. Financial Committee Chairman John Wendling will give a verbal report. John? Marcos, can we unmute? There we go.
Yeah, thank you, Sue. Hello and good evening to the board and FRMD residents. I appreciate you all being on. I appreciate the public comment period. All voices that express their views, thank you for that. I'm glad to be in a position tonight to provide you all with a positive update with regard to the issuance of our 2020 bonds through Fossil Ridge number 3. My objective tonight, and bear with me, is to provide as many details to you all as possible in terms that you can understand, but with the caveat that the structural and economic outcome of the bond issue will not be known until we price and close in the next month to 5 weeks. And when I say economic outcome, I mean things such as the final principal value par amount of our bond issue, the true interest cost, the new interest rate, blended interest rate on our bonds, new annual debt service requirements in their totality, savings that we can expect to achieve on the refinancing, etc. I'll get to some of those measures that I feel comfortable stating with you all here in a moment. Again, we'll know more about all of that once we price the bonds. So the FRMD bond financing team, including representatives of the district, continue to move efficiently forward with the negotiation and structuring of the bonds. Going back to our last meeting, we brought on Wells Fargo as underwriter, and they've stepped in to do a great job thus far. And we're getting into a market-ready position now. Legal counsel, and when I say that, I use it in a plural term. Well, each firm has been laser-focused, and the financing team has kept pace with their document drafting and review to date. It's been an all-hands-on-board and very productive negotiation, a number of successful conference calls and document drafting sessions so far, and I'll tell you, it has FRMD in a good spot, very much to the benefit of our district. We're in good shape from a timing standpoint. We expect to complete the bond sale and close just before the election on November 3rd. And we, as many other local governments, municipal issuers, etc., have a desire to do this. The uncertainty that could come with the election and markets thereafter, it's hard to predict. So we'd like to get this completed and capture market conditions that we know now and understand. Kim Crawford from Butler Snow, serving as bond counsel, will address some items after my comments with regard to the financing resolution and getting documents into their substantially final form from where we sit today. This includes the indenture, pledge agreement, resolutions, and the preliminary official statement. That's effectively a prospectus for municipal bonds that will be published in October, such that we can market these investments publicly. Again, we've reached substantially final form, which basically means we've ironed out now the principal terms and almost all the provisions and language, but we're awaiting, again, the final results of pricing these bonds, including what will come forth in sources and uses of funds, debt service cash flows, what we'll pay annually as a district. And once we know that, the documents will then be made, quote, final, and we'll move to closing. So we're approximately 2 weeks from securing our S&P bond rating on the district. It speaks to the health and credit quality of Fossil Ridge. Again, the S&P rating scale, I think we've talked about this in prior meetings. You know, it ranges on the investment grade spectrum from AAA to BBB, with AA and A in between. Our 2014 and 16 bonds were rated BBB. And we had a meeting today coordinating around the S&P process and presentation. And to be frank, our expectations are that the district will receive an upgrade through this refinancing, through the issuance of the 2020 bonds, including the new money, Our district is nearly 86% built out. Our assessed value has continued to climb. The quality of our neighborhood is extraordinary. And we have a lot of good things to say and present to S&P and answer their questions. So we do expect a higher rating outcome this time around than 2016, which is the last time we were rated. We're about 3 weeks from pricing the bonds, which will occur in mid-October. We're currently targeting October 21st. And then after marketing the bonds to investors for about 10 days, Wells Fargo will collect orders on that day, October 21st. This is where the rubber really meets the road in terms of the value of our bonds in the marketplace. And we'll negotiate final terms and interest rates with Wells Fargo, and they will ultimately make a formal offer to purchase the bonds in the bond sale. Jim Mann from Ellers is on the line tonight as well. Ellers is serving, as you all know, as our municipal advisor. From here forward, we're going to be taking more of a negotiating posture with Wells Fargo. Ellers is serving in a fiduciary role and capacity to the district. They're putting our best interests first, as well as the district representatives working on the bond issue, of course. But we will be moving forward to that bond sale date on October 21st. Let's see. So on that date, we would sign a document referred to as the bond purchase agreement, and that sets us up to finalize documents and move to closing, again, by the election time frame, perhaps as early as October 29th. Since my last comments to the board, market conditions have held steady generally, very positive for the district, given how low interest rates are. I mean, just take one look at even the U.S. Treasury yield curve, and you can see where we're at now versus historic levels. This is a great time for us to execute on the refinancing. We were talking earlier today, and we joked that sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. In 2017, the federal government took away what are called advance refundings in the tax-exempt bond market, which really set us up to wait for the refinancing now. And with all the things that have gone on this year in 2020, the pandemic, lowering of rates by the Fed on the short end, long-term investors following suit, we're in a great spot to capture interest rates that I wouldn't have thought possible 2 years ago. So let's see here. This gives us the opportunity, obviously, to lower our debt service requirements on existing debt and add some amount of new money for developer advance reimbursement purposes. So FRMD3 will refinance all of the outstanding bonds. We will be issuing these bonds via Fossil Ridge 3, which is a financing and taxing district. The 2014 and 2016 bonds were both issued through Fossil Ridge 3 in their totality. The reason why Fossil Ridge 1 issued the 09 and subsequently the 2010 bonds that we're refunding is because they were more prospective. There wasn't the tax base at the time in Fossil Ridge 2 or 3, to which they could serve as a good credit and issue those bonds. So Fossil Ridge 3 will take on all obligations of the district, all of Fossil Ridge. I think it's important that folks keep in mind, I continue to harp on this, but we do not plan to extend the final maturity of the existing debt. The 2010 bonds have a 2040 maturity. The 2014 bonds have a 2044 maturity, and the 2016 bonds have a 2046 maturity. And then the new money component that we'll be issuing will fit around that, and we will issue 30-year bonds. I'm getting a little background noise. So just to give folks maybe a bit of a preview around Kim Crawford, again, Butler Snow Bond Council's comments with regard to the resolution for District Number 3 that's being considered this evening. We've worked hard to set a specific upper limit to the transaction that we can work within from here. It's effectively not to exceed levels or parameters that set the basis for which we move forward. And let me underscore this point, that we can only move forward within these parameters. And if we were to step outside of any one of them, we would need to come back to the board for new consideration and approval in a public setting. The parameters are set to provide some room, a little bit of room for market change over the next few weeks until we price. But they're not set so high as to give us carte blanche to just move forward and do whatever we feel is appropriate in our own view. The board is holding us accountable with these parameters, certainly. The core parameters, I'm happy to point those out now. If you look at the board package, the core parameters can be found in section 4. This is the delegated authority and parameters section. It's specifically item B, and that's in the Fossil Ridge number 3 resolution. And I'm just going to walk through the parameters real quick. The principal amount shall not exceed $40 million. The net effective interest rate, the blended rate on the bond, shall not exceed 4%. The maximum annual and total repayment cost shall not exceed $2,250,000 and $67,500,000 respectively. The bond shall not mature beyond June 1st of 2050. The bond shall be subject to optional redemption with a par call date no later than December 1st of 2030. This gives us an opportunity to potentially refinance and save again in the future. The bond shall be structured generally to achieve level fiscal year debt service, meaning equal annual payments over those 30 years. So we're not escalating debt service or doing, it's a mortgage style payment structure. And the purchase price of the bond shall not be less than 98.5%. Again, the final pricing and cash flows will be dictated here in a few weeks. It's yet to be established, but I will tell you, based on current market conditions, barring any major disruption in the market, we expect to outperform these parameters in a meaningful way. Without going too far out on a limb, I'm comfortable saying that we expect to lower our total annual debt service requirements from the current $2 million per year. To be clear, this includes both the refinancing and new money bond components. And the aggregate, this is the aggregate amount that FRMD would pay each year. So the taxes that we pay into Fossil Ridge 2 and pay into Fossil Ridge 3 into those debt service funds, we expect to be under the $2 million per year. If we achieve this outcome, to be clear, our total debt service paid would be less than $60 million. 30 years, $2 million a year. If it's less than that, it's less than 60. And as I spoke to in the second budget session about a week ago, not even last Wednesday, these numbers, these levels are preliminary, and we do have an opportunity in front of us to lower our debt service, which in turn means lower debt service, mill levy assessed against each home, each residence in our community. As a resident myself, I'm working hard for my home, for all the homeowners here in Fossil Ridge to achieve that, so long as the market holds in there. As district representatives, we're working passionately to achieve this outcome, put us in the best possible position And I just hope that my comments tonight and perhaps some of the other comments that you all have heard instill confidence that that we're able to follow through here and improve the financial situation of the district, which translates to the financial situation of residents. I just want to underscore and point out that your support, the community support, is really important at this time to which we're about to go to market and go public with our bond sale. And just know that your support of our efforts will allow our district to optimize our credit position and standing. And there's 3 key entities that we're going to be interacting with here within the next few weeks, to which this is core, this is critical. First is Standard & Poor's, who is going to rate the bonds, provide a credit rating on the district and our debt obligation, 2020 bonds. We're soliciting bond insurers that would propose to enhance our bond offering, which would help to drive down interest costs further beyond the just pure rating on our bonds. And then ultimately bond investors that will take a long position in our district and own our debt anywhere from 1 to 30 years. Another important point that I'd like to make is that upon issuing the 2020 bonds, assuming 10 million of new bonds are issued, the par amount being 10 million, we will have issued and allocated $38,130,000 of our $70 million general obligation bond limit. Okay, I think that's a core measure. We will be just in terms of the community understanding the allocation and where we're headed and or where we stand relative to that $70 million bond cap. And for transparency's sake and to arrive at this figure, all folks need to do is add the 09 bonds, the original principal value, the 14 bonds, and the 16 bonds with the par amount of our new, the new money component of this 2020 series. The total amount issued under 09, 14, and 16 is $28,130. Upon pricing and finalizing the bond issue, we've already been tasked and are thinking ahead to where district representatives will present and broadcast the final bond performance and statistics to the Solterra community, so everyone knows exactly where we finish, certainly within the parameters set, and to convey a set of facts that everyone can rely on and understand going forward. I assure you, and keep in mind, I work in the municipal bond market, I work in this industry, but I assure you that with Ellers, certainly as our muni advisor, district representatives will continue to aggressively negotiate for the best possible outcome for FRMD. No stone unturned. Squeezing every 0.01%, every basis point we can out of this financing, such that our debt service requirements are as low as possible. So those are my comments. Again, I appreciate everyone on the line tonight. Thank you for your comments.
Okay, Sue, I think the next speaker is going to be Kim Crawford, our municipal advisor from Butler Snow, and she's going to address the resolutions dealing with the issuance of bonds. So go ahead, please, Kim.
Hi, I'm Kim Crawford. I'm happy to be with you this evening to talk about your new bond issue. John took away a lot of my thunder with the parameters in the resolution. He did a great job explaining the resolution and kind of just this process. But every bond issue, I've been a bond attorney for over 20 years, and I've represented a lot of Title 32 special district, which is what you guys are. I also represent school districts, cities, counties, towns, not just limited to metro districts. So have a lot of experience with a lot of different entities. And really, state law is a little bit different from metro districts, but everybody kind of has the same format. And your first step to do a bond issue is to adopt a resolution. So it was determined that District 3 would be the issuer because they have been in the past. We're going to refund all of the bonds with one bond issue. It's going to consolidate it because the 3 metro districts are a consolidated metro district. So the bond resolution that you have in the packets is actually, it's called the parameters resolution. And as John explained, it's called that because under state law, the board can take official action to approve bonds subject to certain parameters. And those are maximum amounts that cannot be exceeded without having to come back to the, back to the board for further action. So John did go over those parameters in pretty good detail. The resolution also approves forms of certain documents, which are on file with the district. One of them is a pledge agreement. So the other 2 districts are going to enter into a pledge agreement. District 1 is the district that is the one that owns and operates the 3 districts under the service plan and the IGA. So District 1 and District 2 are entering into a pledge agreement with District 3, where District 3 and District 2 are going to impose a mill levy to pay these bonds. And under the service plan, that limit was 50 mills, but it was subject to the Gallagher adjustment when the residential assessment rate goes down. So right now, the mill levy that's being imposed in your districts is a little over 55 mills. And that can go up, but again, it's subject to the Gallagher amendment and adjustment. So what it essentially means is that there's no net revenue gain. It's just, it makes them whole for what is not being imposed because the residential assessment rate goes down. The resolution also imposes or approves the form of an indenture. And under that indenture, you're going to have a trustee. The trustee will get the $10 million and for the new money project, if that's the amount that is decided, that's the maximum amount. Requisitions will have to be submitted, and those will be reviewed by the board before they're actually submitted for payment. So there is another level, I guess, of review before any of those monies go out for payment. Again, as I said, this is a limited mill levy deal, so you never have to impose more than this 55 mills Gallagherized, which is 55-ish right now. And that's all you're ever going to be imposed. You're not going to, your mill levy is not going to go up to 100 mills or something like that to pay your debt. Again, I think those are the main highlights of the bond resolution. And again, there's a pledge agreement, and under that pledge agreement, the other districts are saying that they're District 2 and 3 are going to impose mill levy to pay these bonds back. And there's also a preliminary official statement, and that document is the document that Wells Fargo is going to present to the investors, and it's what they use to actually market the bonds. It's really just a really good discussion of what's going on in the district, what the development is, how many houses have been sold, what's still available to be sold, your assessed value, property tax collection, things that investors really would like to know when they're making an investment decision to buy your bonds. Without taking up a whole bunch more time, I think that deals with the documents, unless there's any questions or you'd like further clarification.
Okay, Kim, thank you.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda is for District Number 3 Board to consider a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of limited tax general obligation refunding and improvement bonds, Series 2020. Enclosure is page 11 through 37 of your packet.
So Sue, this is Craig. Walk us through what we need to do in this resolution.
So Kim, and if I'm wrong, please correct me, but I believe that the board needs to have a formal motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the issuance. So we need a formal motion and a second and a call.
As the president of District 3, considering everything that we've been through and the discussion points, I move that we adopt the resolution for bonds.
This is Tom Waterman, I will second that.
Tom, this is District 3, so I need somebody from District 3.
All right.
Is there a second? Daniel, you're muted. Is that it? Marcos, can you unmute him, please?
I will second.
Board member, 1 second.
Thanks, Marcos. I figured I needed a wave. Wanted to say hello.
So was that a second, Daniel?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Greg Brown, aye. And let's make sure we have Aaron unmuted here. Yeah, or Reed, as the case may be. All right. And David Wilson. It says he's muted, so let's get him on. Marcos.
I think he might be David's iPad.
Yeah.
Yep. I think he's unmuted now. Sorry about that.
That's okay, I'm in. I'm an aye.
And just to clarify, for the board and make sure, it's clear to the audience too, we're approving the latest version of that resolution, the bond resolution for district number 3. I think there was an original draft that was posted, but the final version was posted to the community as well, and that's what's being approved this evening.
Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Greg Brown, aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion carries unanimously. Second item is for district number 1. The board needs to consider a resolution authorizing the defeasance of special revenue refunding bonds, Series 2, 2010, and approving the pledge agreement as defined therein. Enclosure is pages 58 through 57.
And Sue, this is Tom Waterman, I support that resolution, I offer that resolution.
Dave McGraw, I support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mike McClary, aye.
Greg Brown, aye.
Terry's absent.
Terry's absent. Okay. So none opposed. The motion to adopt the resolution is carried unanimously. Next item is for district number 2. Again, the board will need to adopt or make a motion to adopt a resolution approving the pledge agreement and termination agreement as defined therein, enclosures 58 through 76 in your packet.
This is Ted Michelson, I will make that motion.
Thank you, Ted.
I will support that. Dave McGraw.
All in favor?
Ted Michelson, aye.
Aye. Dave McGraw.
Al Plumhoff, aye.
Tom Waterman, yes.
Okay, and we've got Terry absent. So that motion carried unanimously. The next item that we have is for the board to consider a resolution to engage a bond attorney through Dinsmore and Scholl do we have a motion to engage them?
Dino Ross is going to speak on our behalf this evening, and he'll address the resolution for us to consider engagement of the bond attorney, Eric Kennedy, from the firm of Dinsmore and Stoll. So I'll turn it over to Dino.
Thank you, Tom. And the only reason it's being turned over to me is I wanted to make sure that we get the form of the motion correct. The motion would be to ratify execution of the engagement letter with bond attorney Eric Kennedy with the law firm of Dinsmore and Scholl LLP to assist the district in connection with bond issuance.
All right. Thank you, Dino.
And a so moved would be just fine. You don't have to restate that.
Okay.
Is this a D1? Do you know?
This is, we're going to need it by all three. He's being retained by all three.
Okay. For D1, I would so move.
Mike McClary, second.
For D2, Tom Waterman, I'll move.
Should we vote on D1 first?
Dino, should we vote by district?
Let's just clean it up. Let's just do it by district and get a vote and move to the next.
Okay. Okay. So D1, we have a motion by Director McGraw, second by Director McCleary. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Craig Brown, aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it carries unanimously. District 2, I have a motion by Tom Waterman.
Ed Michelson, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Michelson.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it carries unanimously. D3,
David Wilson moves.
thank you.
Aaron, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Craig Brown, aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, it passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, the next item. Anything else on the bonds, Dino or Kim?
Nothing from me. I
Okay.
think we're good.
Okay, thank you. Next item, operations and maintenance. Community manager update, Overlook. Jenny, do you have a report for us?
Let me unmute her real quick.
Thank you.
We might have lost her. She's coming back. She just texted me.
Tom, do you want to take this out of sequence and do the retreat pool
Yes,
report by CRS first?
Move on to the pool and retreat, please.
Okay, Angie and Matt?
Good evening, board members and Fossil Ridge community members. Just a quick update about the retreat that Angie and I will provide this evening. The restroom fans in the actual retreat have been ordered by Paradise Heating and will be installed in the upcoming weeks. Paradise will also service our heating and cooling and hot water heaters. They will service all of our HVAC and hot water heaters going forward on a quarterly basis. Paint colors have been chosen by the retreat committee, and the work is being scheduled with the paint contractor currently. Upholstery of the dining room chairs is on hold until the fabric can be chosen by the committee. The pool coping around the pool has been repaired by PrepRite as they perform the resurfacing in May. of this year, and it needed a repair after the season's end. That has now been finalized. The pool that is serviced by Perfect Pools has been undergoing winterization. It is almost finished. The lower pool is currently the holdup, and by saying holdup is just the cover needs to go on hopefully tomorrow. And lastly, on my side, the fitness classes have been continually going on outdoors and will continue going on outdoors, weather permitting, going forward. I'll go ahead and kick it off to Angie.
Thanks, Matt. So just to kind of finish up on some of the other projects that you approved in the last meeting that we asked for, we tomorrow have the handyman scheduled to finish off the exterior lights, the GFIs, remove the fountain and cap the shower heads. We are still bidding out some pergola paint and repairs, as well as amphitheater options and concrete work for next year. Guard room and gate monitor furniture has been ordered. And on the event side of things, we have a few small events that have booked in October. Obviously less than 23 people with all the parameters taken. So it would be nice to get some people in and out of the retreat coming up. The Rocktober social committee event is scheduled for the 10th. We're the 100 people maximum and all the reservations have been taken. And then we did pull the trigger on another food truck event. It's not hosted by the social committee, so there'll be no funding by the social committee, but just an event for the community to take advantage of. So October 23rd, we are going to have the food trucks back up in the parking lot of the retreat, so maybe everybody can get a night out of the kitchen. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jenny.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
You're back.
So just to let everybody know, the street maintenance was done on the private gated street, and I will try to schedule a walk with Andy this week or next week to go over it. I know he was out of town this weekend also, so we will go in and look at that. But as far as I know, besides a couple of cars that had to be moved after the time, everything went as planned. But if anything else is needed, I will update the board and we'll continue to work with Dave on that. We also, Tom, I don't know if you want to talk about the one mailbox that we did treat on Indiana and West Warren Avenue. We did do a test of that mailbox with PrepRite just to kind of see how it would look. And so if board members want to take a look at that, they can. And speaking with Tom, it looks like we'll put these items into the 2021 budget. Just to make sure we're not redoing all of these right before the snow season when we're hand shoveling around them, etc. And we can really test this one mailbox to see how it holds up through the winter, as well as snow shoveling around that area. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you, Jenny.
Sure.
I don't show any additional items on the agenda, so the board is ready. We can adjourn. I'd like a formal motion, please, on all three districts.
Sir Tom Waterman, motion for District 1.
Support for District 1, Dave McGraw.
Ed Michelson, support our motion for District 2.
Do we have a second?
Plumhoff, support.
Okay, thank you.
And motion for D3.
Zarin, I'll second.
Thank you. This meeting will adjourn at 7:50 p.m. All in favor?
Aye.
Great, good night.
Any opposed? Hearing none, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you too.
Bye.